Hollywood has been making superhero movies ever since the older Flash movie came out in the 1930s. Though we didn't get a good superhero movie that got a lot of praise until DC released Batman in 1989, where it's unlike previous superhero films, this one had a darker tone. Before this, all superhero media was more fun and ridiculous, like the Adam West Batman show and the Flash show, too. They didn't find a way to make superhero movies mostly fun, but also be taken seriously and beyond successful until The Avengers was released in the year 2012. This movie changed superhero movies forever. And every studio wanted to have their own big franchise in the universe like Marvel did. This is all what starts the story of the Justice League and the Justice League Snyder Cut. Directed by Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder, The Justice League was a movie released in the year 2017. The plot is when the Mother Box is awakened and Steppenwolf comes down to Earth to make it his own. Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, and Superman must team up to form the Justice League so they can stop Steppenwolf. This movie ended up winning 2 awards. One was a BMI for Danny Elfman because he had a fantastic score in this movie. And the movie also won a Golden Smo because it was the biggest disappointment of the year 2017. A film critic from The Hollywood Reporter has actually said, DC Comics derived extravagance to data. This hodgepodge throws a bunch of superheroes into a mix that never could use, nor particularly makes you want to see more of them in the future. Plainly put, it's simply not fun. Though the 2021 version of the movie was a lot better, and it got a lot more praise too. Directed by Zack Snyder, The Justice League, the Zack Snyder Cut, was a movie released in 2021. The plot is really similar to the plot of the original Justice League, except this one takes its time a lot more, so it could go into more detail about things, introduce future movies, and expand on the characters' backstories and motivations. The biggest difference I could think of is the movie adding in Darkseid. This not only set up a future movie, but also set up more motivation for Steppenwolf. According to a critic from Variety magazine, the new Justice League exudes a majestic sense of cosmic historical evil. Its tone is less reminiscent of other DC or Marvel movies and of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. The camaraderie among the superheroes is vastly deepened and the cheeseball's wisecracks exceed. They develop a moving affinity for each other. So what caused them to have to make this movie? Well, back in the year 2017, DC was being very unsuccessful when they stick with the method of making their films darker. When they saw that Batman vs. Superman was being hated by the critics, while Marvel was being more successful by making more fun movies like The Avengers. So they decided to make the Justice League more fun like past Marvel movies, hoping it would be a big hit at the box office, along with winning praise from the critics. So after Zack Snyder finished filming the movie, and DC saw he had made a darker film, they hired Joss Whedon, the director of The Avengers, to do research for him. Though, while Whedon was still filming, Snyder had to leave due to a family tragedy. The way LA Times has said it is, at the time, it was reported that Snyder initially hired Whedon to help write additional scenes, but in some more recent interviews, he had said that wasn't the case at all. He told Vanity Fair that Whedon was brought in by the studio before his departure for rewrites, and has given more and more creative power on the film. When the movie was released, it was really disappointing to fans. And Snyder even admitted he'd never even watched the movie after Christopher Nolan and Snyder's wife suggested that he didn't. Since fans didn't like the movie all that much, and they heard about what happened behind the scenes, they started to leave #release the Snyder Cut all over social media platforms 2 days after the movie came out. According to the LA Times article, on the anniversary of Justice League's theatrical release, cast members Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, and Ray Fisher, as well as Snyder himself, took to social media to renew the call for the Snyder Cut. This led to the high-profiling enthusiasts joining in. A year later, the Snyder Cut was officially announced, and after seeing numerous trailers and ads, we finally got the movie a year later. Though we had to wonder, how much hate did the movie have to get for fans to get what they wanted out of this? So, the question is, How bad was Justice League 2017 to cause DC to have to release the Snyder Cut of the movie? To find out, I'm going to be focusing on the difference between the two movies, Zack Snyder's vision and his way of making films usually, and how fans have changed throughout the years for us to get the Snyder's Cut and for them to want it. The 2017 version of Justice League didn't fit Snyder's vision in any way. Snyder admitted he grew up with stylish heavy metal magazines instead of superhero comics. It seems like this was trying to be a typical superhero movie than like a darker superhero movie, which Snyder wouldn't have made because he grew up with more heavy metal comics than superhero comics. Actually, while Zack Snyder was talking to Entertainment Weekly about Watchmen, he said, Watchmen dwells on questions about the role of superheroes and the toll crime-fighting takes on the psyche, like Dark Knight, only darker. This shows he likes to make darker movies and more unique superhero films. I think the main reason why they made it funner is because when Joss Whedon got onto the project, they pretty much let him do whatever he wanted in the movie. I'm going to repeat a line from Snyder. Whedon was brought in by the studio before his departure for rewrites, and it was given more and more creative power on the film. This caused the movie a ton of scenes meant for humor that didn't fit the tone of the darker story that Snyder made in any way. Scenes being rushed, and scenes resorting to telling instead of showing a lot, and things not explained, and even them changing the lighting during the Snyder scenes they kept. I'm going to compare the beginning of both of the films so you can see how much Joss Whedon messed up Zack Snyder's movie and how different they are tonally. So, the 2017 version of the movie is basically showing the aftermath of Superman saving the day and the kids interviewing Superman and recording him off their phones. This scene has something off the screen that the audience probably would have wanted to see. It's kind of simple and boring, and also very, very, light and fun. In my opinion, everything I just said kind of describes the rest of the movie. Also, this scene doesn't really do anything for the overall story. While in the Snyder Cut, it starts out with Superman's death at the end of Batman vs. Superman, and his death waking up the mother boxes with Superman constantly screaming in pain. This scene is obviously darker but on its own, but also has darker lighting too. This scene also gives us a reason for the mother boxes to wake up. In the original, they just turn on out of nowhere. This scene also shows that Batman vs. Superman had consequences. This obviously shows that one of the movies has a darker tone and fits Snyder's vision more. So you had to wonder, what got us a Snyder Cut of the film? Why did Whedon make this movie so fun? So obviously, when the fans saw the original Justice League, they were not happy. They started hashtag release the Snyder Cut 2 days after it came out, and as I said, it got everywhere. Another quote from the LA Times article is, in a matter of days, fans who were disappointed in Justice League launched a campaign asking Warner Bros. To release Snyder's director's cut of the film, including an online petition for people who loved Batman vs. Superman. Fans took to Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and beyond to spread their theories and scound the internet for evidence that an unfinished but viable cut of Zack Snyder's original vision of Justice League existed somewhere. A website devoted to tracking all things Snyder Cut is actually launched sometime later. So the fans are what caused the movie to be made, then the cast just kind of supported them later on. As you can see, the main thing that got us the Snyder Cut of Justice League was the fans. Though why did they suddenly want a darker film? So a little bit more than a year before Justice League came out, Suicide Squad came out, and it's got the same amount of hate from the fans. It had the same type of problems behind the scenes with the studio taking control and heavily editing it to make it more like a Marvel movie and stuff, and David Ayer has admitted to all this, just like all the problems with Justice League. Though you have to wonder, why didn't anybody stand up for Ayer here and demand the Ayer cut of the movie? I think the main reason why is because of its time and the success of Infinity War. Infinity War, another Avengers movie, came out a couple months after Justice League, and this had a darker tone in it, which everyone seemed to enjoy, but still had the fun and humor that people enjoy in Marvel films too. So now people wanted a combination of dark and fun movies too. The movie was also more successful than the Avengers at the box office, and it got a lot more praise too. Due to the success of Infinity War, many superhero films were changing at this time, and fans wanted darker films like they had a few years ago. Fans had once again changed their minds and demanded superhero films to be darker, more mature like Infinity War. I think that this is the main thing that caused fans to demand the Snyder Cut of the movie, because Justice League and Infinity War were only a few months apart, so they were able to see what Justice League could have been, and thought that they wanted it more like Infinity War. Fans had once again changed their minds and demanded superhero films to be darker and more mature like Infinity War. I think that this is the main thing that caused fans to demand the Snyder Cut of the movie. So what caused the Snyder Cut of the movie is fans changing and wanting darker superhero films. As you can see, when Marvel had decided to make darker films, and fans had changed their minds on what they want superhero films to be. These changes could change something from fans' worst nightmare to exactly what they're hoping for, a huge success for a movie studio too. The Snyder Cut actually ended up becoming really successful because of originality, and also because it followed the tone of Infinity War a lot. It was actually such a success that people have started #Restore the Snyderverse to hopefully return all the canceled Snyder films in the DCEU. This tweet has been more successful than #Release the Snyder Cut in a few days, and that is saying a lot. So who knows what happened? Maybe a new superhero film will come out and change what people want out of superhero movies again, right when the Snyderverse gets restored. So, we have no idea what the future of superhero movies will be, only time will tell. Hopefully, we will get the Snyderverse, and hopefully, we will stick with this darker tone. Just for the fans, and so we can keep people happy.